I've talked about the benefits of modern gaming and described them in detail. In that video, I said sometimes you need a break from all the negativity and you need time to stop and smell the roses. This video is about smelling the crap. So, what about modern gaming is absolutely terrible? The answer is very much. But we gotta start somewhere, so let's start with the lack of plug and play. We've traded physical games for the convenience of on-demand digital. Sure, we can summon any game at will thanks to the internet and the advances in cloud gaming, but it is still not an instant plug-and-play solution. Games take time to download and install, and while internet speeds have gotten much faster, it's still not quite there yet. I would imagine most people don't have fast internet. I miss the days of buying a game on disc, putting it in, and playing it. Even the Xbox 360 title updates were just a few hundred megabytes at the most. One thing I've had to do when I pick up a game physically is wait for hours to play it. And that's not even counting if the game is single player or multiplayer.
Ring out, Sentai! You win!
Most multiplayer games have updates on top of updates. Have you heard this phrase before? An update requires restart. That is what happens every time I boot up Call of Duty. So much has to happen before you can play, and no amount of SSD or internet connection can cut down on wait times. Multiplayer itself can also be a problem due to faulty servers and sweaty lobbies. I believe it's games like Call of Duty that it's okay for them to be sweaty, but from what I gather about skill-based matchmaking sometimes, it's just that multiplayer games, rather than just having random people play the game, it just sucks the fun right out of the game. Let's not even talk about the unfiltered nonsense that children will spill out of their mouths these days. The other day, my 6-year-old brother was playing Fortnite, and because the PS5 has a built-in microphone, he was able to communicate with other kids. As luck would have it, our mother walked in on him in the middle of playing, and another kid who was maybe 10 years old was just repeatedly yelling the N-word over and over again. Of course, that's just if you get the complete package when it comes to video games. Most games don't even launch complete anymore. Games like Redfall launch with key features missing and glitches galore. 2014 was when this stuff started becoming mainstream to me. Assassin's Creed Unity and Halo the Master Chief Collection were the heralds for what would become the future of the game industry. Rarely do you find a game that is complete at launch. Some games even sell you the other parts of the game at a later date, though they were supposed to be in the game day one. At least you own it forever, right? Wrong. Games can easily be delisted for various reasons. Heck, recently, the Xbox 360 store was just shut down, and now thousands of games that don't even have license issues are just unavailable because Microsoft didn't want to maintain the servers anymore. Wow, the trillion-dollar company just threw away a chance to continue making more money? Some examples of games I've wanted to buy but can't include The Orange Box, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Soul Calibur 2 HD, Ultimate Alliance, and various Spider-Man games. But Jack, I own the game physically. I still own it, perhaps, but sometimes the disc or cartridge you own doesn't even contain a playable game off that disc. As of this moment, they still let you download the rest of the game so long as the servers remain up, but even still, you are at the mercy of some rich company. What will happen 20 years from now when the servers are gone? You better pray that you already have downloaded that update or DLC, and that your hardware doesn't fail later on down the line. These games right here, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Starfield, Halo Infinite, there is not a single playable feature with these games off the disc. Why do I own these physically? Well, even if they get delisted and the servers are still active, you can still download the update and play the game that way. But my point is, those servers aren't going to last forever. 360 is barely maintaining life at this point. Now, this is the proper way to do it. Red Dead 2, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and of course, Mortal Kombat 1. And this is the newest release that I know does this, where the game has multiple discs. I do know that Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, those come on like 3 or 4 discs, and the DLC is included. This is how you get it done, but companies are being cheaper. Now, for some reason, even though Microsoft has a 4K Blu-ray drive which can support up to 100 gigabyte discs, they're not doing that. Sony, however, is, probably because they own the format, or at least part of it, but it still just boggles my mind. Like, hey, Starfield is clearly a game that can run off of a 4K disc, and they just chose to put half the game on a disc. I'm pretty sure that's the case. My copy is still sealed because I bought it digitally, so that way I can play it early. But it's not the only game that does that, and more games are doing this more frequently, and games are getting bigger and bigger. Now, I thought this was only a 7th gen thing, but I come to find out, games have been coming out on multiple physical formats forever. Like Doom 1 came on multiple floppy disks. If you got like Resident Evil 2 on the PS1, that was multiple discs depending on the character you played as. So it's not something that's necessarily new, but the amount of content you can purchase and own physically is slowly going further and further down, and that concerns me. There's a whole lot wrong with the industry, and it's getting increasingly harder to find games that give the whole package right from the start. That's not to say it doesn't happen anymore, but it is much rarer, and perhaps it's time for a new entrepreneur to step in and capitalize on the market that wants their ownership back. But until then, I'm Jack, and I'll be back.